Hello everyone, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the name Ronaldinho? To many old-school fans who caught the best years of a football player, this speaks of an unrealistically beautiful game, cool feints and spectacular goals. I propose to recall the best moments in the career of the great Brazilian. The history of the confrontations between Barcelona and Chelsea in the Champions League has been going on for more than a dozen years, and one day, the British still suffered at the hands of Ronaldinho. It happened in the match of the 2004 Champions League final. The match took place in London, and despite the fact that Barcelona lost that match, Ronnie had a great fight. He did a double that night, but most of all I remember his second goal. Having taken the ball in front of the penalty area, he masterfully used false movements and a Swedish spun the ball perfectly into the corner of the goal. The goalkeeper didn't fully understand how the defenders allowed him to break through, but it's Ronaldinho. The matches between Barcelona and Real Madrid always turn out to be special. In such fights, there is everything you need for a real show: fights, brawls, cards, beautiful goals. It is the latter that will be discussed now. Ronaldinho has upset the goalkeepers of Madrid more than once, but in the 2005 game in Madrid, he managed to create a real masterpiece. Dragging the ball from the center of the field and simultaneously beating several opponents, Ronaldinho accurately and without a chance for Casillas' shot into the near corner. Even the Real Madrid fans applauded this goal. It so happened that Ronaldinho then he scored a very cool goal after beating two opponents and working the ball under his left foot. The footballer did not wait for a more suitable moment to strike, but immediately struck with force. And most importantly, I got it. The ball flew into the 9. With unreal strength, the goalkeeper could only bite his elbows here, and the fans at the stadium rejoiced. In the Spanish league, Ronaldinho did not light up for very long, but he did it very brightly and effectively. In addition to the moments when the Brazilian beat half the team, he scored a very cool acrobatic goal, and more specifically, a youth. At the age of 22, he was already a very cool football player. In particular, he showed an excellent game for the Brazilian national team. Ronaldinho can confidently record a performance to his asset. At the 2002 World Cup, then his team won the tournament, and the player himself proved to be very cool. But most of all, the fans remember his goal against England from a free kick. It wasn't just a free kick to the gate. It was very far away, and the angle was completely unsuitable for a strike. Ronnie ambushed the goalkeeper's mistake and perfectly threw the ball behind his neck. After this, the mood of the English goalkeeper has clearly deteriorated. Once the Brazilian had to upset the fans of Atletico Madrid by scoring an unrealistically beautiful and technical goal. He managed to punch from a very uncomfortable position because he needs. It was necessary to a Spanish championship. The athlete again proved himself as a real master. Barcelona came to visit Osasuna and was clearly not ready to lose points. The main weapon that the Catalans had for this Ronaldinho, Brazilian. He scored a goal that was simply unreal in beauty and technique, which both the fans and he remembered for a long time. After not the most successful transfer from a partner, the ball still ended up with Ronnie. It was very inconvenient to beat, so he acted smarter, throwing the ball and working under the blow. The football player made an unrealistically cool rally. Perfect execution. Returning to the confrontation between Barcelona and Real Madrid, it is impossible not to mention the defender of the cream, Sergio Ramos. This Spaniard is known for his fighting character and a cool defensive game. But other than that, on the football field, very often he treats opponents too cruelly, injuring them and playing dirty. At one point, Ronaldinho didn't like it very much, and he decided to teach the bully a lesson. In the next El Clasico against the Brazilian, Ramos very often personally played, and to be honest, it looked funny from the outside. No matter how Ramos tries to foul or play hard against Ronaldinho, he couldn't do anything at all. After all, the Brazilian repeatedly teased Sergio like a child, forcing him only to swallow the dust behind him. What happens if power and accuracy are perfectly combined in one free kick? Ask Ronaldinho this question, and he will give you the answer to it. If you want to see clearly what will happen, I suggest you look at the billiard penalty performed by the Brazilian wizard in the match against Zaragoza. The blow was so strong that the goalkeeper didn't even have time to react to it. But everything is no worse with accuracy. The ball flew perfectly into the 9. Moreover, the footballer shot into the corner, which the goalkeeper was initially supposed to control. But even this did not save the goalkeeper of the guests. If we move a little away from the topic of Ronnie's heads, then the first thing that comes to mind is his unreal outlines. And indeed, after all, this is what Ronaldinho was mainly called a wizard because of. His every move is very precise, and he constantly came up with new ways of passing opponents. No matter who played against him, no matter how many top defenders were put up, no one could stop the Brazilian genius anyway, and Ronaldinho managed to beat everyone with such ease that it seemed to many that the Brazilian was playing against dummies. Continuing the theme of Ronaldinho's strokes, it should be mentioned that the player masterfully mastered one very simple trick: throwing the ball between the opponent's legs. Ronnie himself said that he was ugly, but God gave him the opportunity. Be a football player. But the most important thing is that the Brazilian has learned to bring beauty to football. This looks impressive, in fact effective, and humiliating for the opponent. What else should a feint be? The footballer managed to hone this trick best of all in mini football, where he showed himself just as cool. It's impossible to count how many defenders Ronaldinho has made fools of. Too many have suffered from his brilliant game. Why are players like Ronaldinho called geniuses? Yes, because they combine all the best qualities of top players. We have already mentioned almost all of them, except for one: unrealistically cool programs. The vision of the field and partners is a very important component, and in it, the Brazilian has succeeded as well as possible. Often his actions on the field make ordinary fans believe in football magic. Passes for every taste, heel, on the move, throwing a horse behind the defenders, diagonal to the other flank, all this. Ronaldinho was able, and used it very cool. Sometimes a good pass can be more effective than any feint, and Ronnie was well aware of this. The main thing that drives any top football player is his mind and football intelligence. But the most important thing is not even that, but how the player uses these things. Ronaldinho has learned to do it very cool, and show his intelligence in many situations that require it. Thus, in the Brazilian Championship for Flamengo, Ronaldinho scored a gorgeous beauty and execution goal from a free kick. The athlete decided to cheat and did not try to throw the wall, but carefully rolled the ball under it, leaving no chance for the fielders and the opponent's goalkeeper. It's for these moments that we watch football. I think that such beauty from Ronaldinho definitely deserves our like. Ronaldinho spent the lion's share of his career in his native Brazilian championship. He has obviously accumulated no less cool moments there than for Barcelona and Milan. For example, in the match against America, the football player created some kind of miracle, scoring a goal with a parachute into the near 9. Then he decided first of all to play on the effect of surprise, and he did it as well as possible. Another very cool goal from the Spanish championship in the match against Sevilla in 2003. Picking up the ball in his own half, Ronaldinho dragged it through half of the field, simultaneously beating two opponents, and shot very hard into the near corner. The blow turned out to be just great. The ball flew into the goal from the crossbar, and the commentators and fans almost went crazy. Just real madness. That's it. I hope you liked the video, and you write to me about it in the comments. And who else of the football stars would you like to see in my selections? Let's vote. The name of which athlete will be more common, and I will make a new video about it. See you soon.